is a renowned international journalist, columnist, and of course the host of Fareed Zakaria GPS on CNN. Fareed Zakaria, welcome to CNN News 18. Let me
Thank you, sir.
start off by asking you, it's been 2 weeks now since Justin Trudeau made those public allegations, stood up in the Canadian Parliament and said that there were credible allegations that Indian agents were linked to the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But in these last 2 weeks, we haven't seen any evidence either in public or in private. First things, why do you think he did what he did, going public with these allegations? And do you believe that if he had the proof, he would have shared that either publicly or privately with his Indian counterparts by now?
It's a very good question, Zaka. My own view is that Trudeau was reluctant to do this and did it reluctantly, knowing it would cause a firestorm, which of course it has caused. But my sense is that the Canadian, investigative intelligence system works fairly independently, and it presented him with what it saw as a compelling case. And I believe there was some efforts to get the Indians to cooperate, and they didn't go anywhere. And at that point, he decided, he had to go public with it, because my guess is that there will probably be some kind of judicial process at some point. Maybe there's likely. I'm guessing there will be an arrest. If there's an arrest, there will have to be a trial. So, in order to kind of forestall any kind of a bombshell coming out that way, my sense is Trudeau did what he did. I think it was a mistake, because when you are, I understand that you cannot reveal intelligence sources, but the U.S. has gone through this many times, most famously with the Iraq War. If you are not able to reveal intelligence, you're not going to be able to convince other people, and you're not going to be able to convince people. That nobody has that level of trust anymore in government. And so the Trudeau government should have decided, look, if we have this proof, and it would reveal sources and methods of intelligence for us to publicly show it, then we can't go public on the charge. But they did, and as I said, my sense is they were motivated by this sense that this is going to maybe go public anyway, because there will be an arrest, there will be a trial. But they've ended up in a situation which I'm pretty sure, having spoken to some people in the Canadian government, they regret. That Canada does not want to have bad relations with India, but here we are.
But the response from the Indian side, and it's been ballistic, if I can use that word, because India has come straight up, denied the allegations. It's also halted any visas for Canadians who wish to travel to India. And today we have news that about 40-odd Canadian diplomats have already been moved out, as was demanded by India on day one when these allegations were made, that there should be parity. How does one come out of this?
Well, it's a very good question. And just to be clear, the charge is explosive. And so the Indians, I think, are responding, in a kind of similarly vigorous way, because at the end of the day, were the charges to be true, it really is outside of the norms of anything that I know that India has done. It's very rare for a democracy to operate like that. You would normally make the case to the Canadian government, ask for extradition, ask them to place the person under house arrest, some version of that process, which, if you remember, happened with the Huawei case in Canada. So it's an explosive charge. The Indians have, as you say, completely denied it. I think there has to be a way, because these are two countries whose long-term interests are entirely aligned. It would be a mistake in terms of foreign policy on both sides to not recognize that there is a greater strategic kind of vision to keep in mind. which is that India benefits a lot from good relations with Canada. Canada benefits a lot with good relations with India. So I would hope that there could begin at some point um, a quiet dialogue, probably with Jaishankar and his counterpart in Canada, about ways in which you can slowly take the temperature down. Find a way to for each side to satisfy the other. Make clear that nothing like this. The Indian government would never do anything like this. You can't. Maybe you can't. You can't. You'll have to agree to disagree on this one case, but you can come up with rules of the road for future situations like this. Because, as you know, the issue of Sikhs who the Canadians see as activists, the Indians see as terrorists, it's not going away. There are more of these people. But one would hope that both sides would see the larger strategic interest in cooperating.
I'm also curious to know your thoughts on the U.S. government's response to this. And now we know from reporting in the U.S. press that the initial intel was shared by the U.S. as part of the Five Eyes alliance. But the response from the U.S. and other members of the Five Eyes, the U.K. has responded, Australia has, it's been very what they call muted. Yes, wanting India to cooperate with Canada, but at the same time, none of these countries have called out or anywhere close to condemned India for these allegations. But I'm just curious to know, if the temperatures are going to be this high for, let's say, the next few weeks, do you foresee Biden administration officials sort of stepping in quietly, and what may they possibly do to try and quieten things a bit?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Zach. I think that first, the Americans do believe that there is substantial evidence that there was some connection between the Indian government and this killing. I don't know if they think that it's dispositive or whether they think it's conclusive. But I know that there were, and as you say, some of the intelligence came from the U.S. I think that the reason they don't want to make a big deal out of it, as we're all aware, is the U.S. has made a strategic decision over the last three administrations to have a much closer relationship with India, at a full spectrum relationship that involves defense, foreign policy, economics, technology, and they don't want this to to screw things up. Now, the problem will be that there is likely to be, as I keep saying, this trial. If there is an arrest and a trial, this problem does not go away. If there isn't, and that in that situation, I think your suggestion, it seems quite plausible that the Americans will try in some way to intermediate or to quietly broker a rapprochement between Canada and India, but not if this kind of takes on the trial takes on a life of its own. And the complication here is that could happen without Justin Trudeau doing anything, because the Canadian system, both of their version of the FBI and their courts are very independent, and they're not going to wait for government approval, and they're certainly not going to accept the Justin Trudeau telling them to shut this down and bury it. So that seems to me the problem. This has taken on a kind of quasi-judicial turn where it may have a life of its own, and one has to hope in some way that the case fizzles out.